and it's debilitating. And it was personal, professional, it was in all different levels of my life. And the real core of codependency is a lack of self-worth, a lack of self-virtue, when you feel like you don't deserve a real loving relationship. You have to try to find one that's all messed up and then make it better, because there's some part of you, and it usually is parental trauma, it's your mother or your father, depending on who you are, or it could be both of them, where there was something that you wanted from them that you never got. And so you're desperately trying to get that back. You're desperately trying to recover something of value from this person. You want them to be nice to you. You want them to love you, and you're hoping that if you can just do what they want, if you can solve the equation, that they will treat you lovingly, because that's your assumption, that everybody's a loving person, that everybody's a good person. But when you look at the titles here, let's go back to the slide for a second. Dissolving the PTSD fight or flight response after abuse, long-term healing after narcissistic abuse, illusion that post-traumatic stress disorder only applies to somebody who went through war as a soldier, and if he hears a helicopter outside, he jumps behind his couch and crouches in fear that, the VCs are coming, or there's an incoming, whatever it is. That definitely can happen. War trauma is some of the most severe. But when you actually study post-traumatic stress, it's any type of trauma that can cause this. And it just has to be something that is systematic and prolonged. And so guess what? I think that just about all of us right now have PTSD because of this year alone. And what we've had to go through, and the masks that we've had to wear, and the loss of freedom, and the loss of our jobs, and our businesses, and our livelihoods. The loss of continuity that we have to, a lot of people, everybody who has kids is having to have their kids at home, and they're having to teach them at home. And we have all these buildings that are just fine, but we're told that it's deadly to go into these buildings, and we have to stay home. And there's another lockdown going on in Europe right now, coincidentally, just in time for whatever else it is that's going on right now. But you can't, the problem with the codependent is ultimately that you realize that you're not going to win. You can't win this thing. When you're dealing with a real psychopath, when you want to heal from narcissistic abuse, when you want to dissolve the PTSD fight or flight response, heal from complex PTSD. Now, what does PTSD really mean again? It means that there is something debilitating going on in your life where stresses and traumas that you've had are affecting your peace of mind and your ability to function normally in your everyday life. And this is happening to almost everyone. Almost everyone has had huge, huge infringements in their freedom, in their livelihood, in their financial well-being, in their emotion. But there really is this organized entity, or what Dr. James Glatfelder called a super entity of 147 corporations, that are vertically integrated into a single, well, it's not really a single, but let's call it that for right now, a single society, a single group that is very hierarchical, that has a very clear pecking order with very clear rank, and anyone who is out there and is seen in the public eye on a global level is never more than mid-level. Never. It just doesn't happen. Some of the mid-level people have gotten quite powerful and have tried to go to the top, and that does happen, but the top is not something that you know about. The top is not people that you've necessarily seen or heard of, and apparently a large number of them have already been dealt with in the result of indictments that have been sealed and are unsealed just enough to address certain issues. There's probably a whole lot of people that you never heard of and you're never going to hear of because they're not around anymore. And that's just reality. Okay? So our friends have been working on this since a long, long time, going back to the 1950s, and I talked about that in my last video, that turned pink mysteriously after it was done. Let's go to the sidebar of psychopathfree.com over here and take a look at some of these. These are the most popular articles right now. 5 things sociopaths and narcissists say to make you feel crazy. 43,922 likes or views, whatever that is. 30 red flags of manipulative people. 30,560 views. 563 views. Why does it take so long to get over a relationship with a psychopath? 23,275 views. And that, again, is the codependency issue, where you are addicted to staying with your psychopath because you're hoping they're going to change even though some part of you knows they never will. 7 signs of hypocrites and the people they target. 23,152 views. Torture by triangulation. Well, we know that one. 20,119 views. They will turn everyone you know against you. Let's off all of your social outlets. You're not allowed to have friends. You're not allowed to talk to people. They get incredibly jealous if you are trying to go out and do anything. If you're trying to talk to anybody, any interaction, any socializing is forbidden.
That's what we're having now.
Yeah, that's what we're having now. It's true. But we know this because we experience this. We live this. The narcissist tries to cut off all of your outlets so that you have nobody to look to but them for support. Why does this entity, this negative entity that is global, not want you to know about extraterrestrials? Because a lot of them are good people. Most of them are benevolent. The vast majority of the ones coming here are extremely benevolent and are actually directing how things work behind the scenes. That's what this is all about. I have a little section in here, again, in the slideshow, just talk about this. But things like repeating numbers on clocks and license plates, you start to have, you know that the phone is going to ring before it does, and you know who it is. You bump into somebody, just so happens that you bump into this person at just the right time, or somebody calls you at just the right time. These things are not accidents, okay? There is an awakening process that starts to happen to you where your life starts to give you paradoxical things. Things that they tell you shouldn't be possible. Things that they tell you shouldn't ever happen. And yet, it's happening to you. You are having things that bend and warp reality. You see evidence that there is a loving God. You see evidence of this in your own life. You have a powerful visionary dream that might predict the future. I've had many of those. You have these amazing synchronicities. You have people that say something to you right when you're having a... Psychopaths are never going to believe this stuff. They're never going to believe that they are wrong. They're never going to believe that there is a hidden spiritual hand behind reality. But there is. And you really don't need to work that hard to find out that it's there. All you need to do is work this path of being a loving, pure person, being kind, genuinely guileless, non-manipulative, non-controlling. Try to just let go of the things that irritate you. When you get irritated by somebody, when somebody makes you angry enough that you want to lash out at them, you got to really think about whether you should do that. And whether you're prepared to take the full karmic toll of the consequences of that kind of behavior, because it's real and it can mess you up. So it's a good idea to really be aware that these spiritual principles that I've always been talking about and so many others have been talking about for all these millennia, these spiritual principles are not to be ignored and they're not to be messed with. This stuff really is true. These principles really are true. So anyway, given the fact that what we're seeing right now is so convoluted and so bizarre, the situation in the world, if you're looking at what's about to happen tomorrow and who's voting and who you're going to vote for and what's going on, it is the precursors leading up to this is the most bizarre thing we've ever seen. Remember my videos with Danny and Brinkley when we were talking about the greatest political manipulator in history was Lee Atwater, and what did he say? That whatever is going on around the time of an election has nothing to do with anything but the election. Anything and everything that's going on in the news is election related. Period. I don't care what you think. I don't care what they tell you. It's election related. Period. End of the story. And the amount of contradictions that most people are having to have in their mind, the seemingly irreconcilable conflict of two candidates, which for some people, and a lot of my audience is not this way, let me just point that out. And I know who you are, and thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting us. but I do have to speak to the swingers, okay? Because there's a lot of swingers out there. It seems like it's an irreconcilable choice. It seems like you can't win no matter what. And I understand that. But what I like to do is really analyze who's the underdog. Who's got the most to lose? And what I'm seeing is this one person who's been completely annihilated for 5 years with not a burst of positivity, where now the entire vertically integrated system, comprising of these 147 entities, 2/3 of which in the top 50 are too big to fail banks, right? We already said that. They own all these things. This is a scientifically provable fact. They own the press. They own big tech. They own the distribution channels. They own the forum in which we speak. And they have weaponized it to try at all costs to prevent you from encountering certain types of information that may inform your decisions just a little bit about who you're going to be voting for and what you might decide is the right choice. So wait a minute. If the system itself has turned into a block, if the system itself has turned into an entity that enforces an agenda across seemingly competitive industries that don't appear to have vertical integration with each other, they don't appear to be working for a common goal, they don't appear to have a sustained hidden agenda that's not even really hidden anymore. If you can't see that, then I don't know what else we can do right now. If you can't see that there is an acrimonious fight to the death, global divorce going on right now between two factions, both of which are very elaborate and have many, many people involved, then you're not really seeing what's going on. So what I'd like to do is to think about the old guy who now wants to be the new guy. He's going to rebrand, get back in there, start all over again. Let's start this all up again. Let's do it all over again. It's going to be better this time, I promise. That's what they always tell you, right? They always tell you that. What's the only thing you can really do, as psychopathfree.com says? No contact. But anyway, just for fun, on the sidebar here, it has this thing, so let's go to this now on the slide. And by the way, this is not going to last 4 hours. I'm already pretty far through my slideshow. Popular on Psychopath Free right now: cheater, liar, charmer. Take the sociopath quiz. So I want you to think about this and all of these questions now as if the DS and its cavalry of different types of media, if they fit the definition of psychopathic, if psychopaths actually could get together as a group and they all have a common agenda, they think the same way, they have a similar goal, and they have a hierarchical pecking order. If that's true, and there's a hell of a lot of evidence that unequivocally shows this, and it's right in your face, okay? If that's true, then this entity that has certain human representatives that show up and want to be voted for, and they want to be voted back in. Let us back in, please. We're going to be so much nicer to you this time. I promise we're not going to do a $29 trillion bailout this time. I promise we're going to be better to you this time. I promise we're going to do more. I promise, I promise, I promise, I promise. Let's run that person, let's run that entity through the sociopath quiz. Why don't we? Let's do that right now. Okay, here we go. There's 13 questions. Does this person keep their promises? Well, let's think about this in terms of what has been going on. Absolutely not. The DS, this entity, definitely does not keep its promises. So in fact, out of all the sentences here, let's read this one because this is the most appropriate. No, this person does not keep their promises. Their actions never seem to match up with their sweeping words. I've mostly learned not to point it out. Otherwise, I seem sensitive and crazy. Well, now, that negative learning to not point it out is enforced on a global level. Does this person keep their promises? Absolutely not. All it is, oh, well, we're only going to have to do a short-term, we're only going to have to shut things off for a little while. I got to be very careful right now. And then we'll kick this thing in the butt and we're going to come right back. Oh, well now, at the beginning of the second debate, oh yeah, well the lockdowns are going to continue until 2022. She actually said that. I was there. I mean, in the room where I was watching this, okay? I watched it on TV just like everybody else. Does this person keep their promises? I don't think so. Next question. Back to the slide. Does your partner, in this case, this entity, seem to understand your feelings? Well, there's two ones in here that are digging around for something not very good. So let's read the first one. Not really, but it's always been this way. Even early on in the relationship, they were never especially caring. They can be pretty self-centered, but they're usually there for me if I really need help. That might be how most of us have seen this entity up until now. But now let's read the next one. Does your partner seem to understand your feelings? Not anymore. I find myself desperately trying to explain how they might feel if they were in my shoes, but that just seems to annoy them. Or they give me the silent treatment. It makes me feel crazy. Again, I find myself desperately trying to explain how they might feel if they were in my shoes. Does your partner seem to understand your feelings? No. This entity didn't care what we felt about a $29 trillion, half the money of the world being stolen from us. It didn't care. It doesn't care no matter how many crimes a particular person running, when those crimes start to come out and it happens at the last minute, do they care about your feelings? No. Do they want you to read it? No. So we can definitely vote for that one. Okay, next question. Can this person be hypocritical? Well, and then you see there's obviously one that's really, really key here. They seem to have extremely high expectations of me, but they behave as if those same standards don't apply to them. They have high expectations of you, but the same standards don't apply to them. Doesn't that sound awful familiar? We get to do whatever we want. We get to make all these mistakes. We get to hurt all these people, adults, children. We can do whatever the heck we want. You don't get to complain. You don't even get to have a voice if you complain. We're going to take that away from you. Number 3 is a yes. Number 4, do they ever lie? No, they would never lie to me, no more than any other person. White lies happen sometimes. And then, the big one here, number 2, yes. Do they ever lie? Yes. And nothing ever seems to be their fault. There's always an excuse for everything, even the things that don't require excusing. Nothing ever seems to be their fault. They never apologize. How many of these stories have been debunked? How many of the people that believed these stories even hear about the stories being debunked? How many of those debunked stories continue to be repeated ad nauseum year after year after year to the degree that you may not even realize how so many of these things were either blatantly false or grossly, grossly exaggerated? Blatantly proven false to the point that there are hearings, congressional hearings, and that investigations prove nothing happened. And there's these retractions, but you never hear about the retractions. So do they ever lie? Absolutely. So we got to hit on this question. Next question. Does this person ever pull away or withhold affection? And of course, the big independent variable here, yes. Does this person ever pull away or withhold affection? Number 2, yes. And it really confuses me after how attentive they were in the beginning of our relationship. It feels like they're constantly making excuses about why they can't communicate or spend time together. So they were very attentive in the beginning of our relationship, and now they make all these excuses. They're pulling away, withholding affection. The equivalent here is absolutely the case. How much does this entity pull away from the truth? How much does it pull away when it gets caught? Almost 100%. And it makes it your fault. You're always to blame. You're the a-hole. You're the one that did things wrong. The entity is never wrong. You are wrong. And it's this powerful thing that stands up to you and says this to you. What can you do about it? You're not allowed to have an opinion about this man unless it's our opinion. You're not allowed to voice your support. Has he made a lot of gaffes? Yes. Has he said a lot of crazy stuff on Twitter? Heck yeah. Would I agree with it? Heck no. But please, for the umpteenth time, those who get mad at me and think that I have negativity here, I'm just being honest, okay? For me, it is a question of which one has more of these objectionable qualities. Which one is more psychopathic? And which one has the apparatus desperately trying to make sure that this person wins and not the other person? And then you got to ask yourself, you really need to ask yourself, why? Why would this apparatus risk everything? Why would this entity go completely for broke? If there was nothing to see here, folks, you don't need to see this stuff. These are not the droids you're looking for. This is not the information you're looking for. Let's just make it go away, shall we? Let's just make those people go away. It's like they never even existed. We'll call it a shadow ban. We're not really banning you, it's just a shadow. You're still alive, you can still say something, it's just nobody's going to see it. No big deal. Or even that's not enough now, right? Does this person ever pull away or withhold affection? Absolutely. In the beginning, what does it say then there again? Yes. And it really confuses me after how attentive they were in the beginning of our relationship, and now they're constantly making excuses. How attentive they were at the beginning of the relationship was this rock star campaigner in 2008 who influenced me. And I cried about it in my last video. I'm not going to cry this time, but I did last time. And part of that is the betrayal, okay? It started out as a great relationship. I was really impressed. I was very excited. And I voted for that ticket. No way is that going to happen now. No way. Because that original relationship has been replaced with one that is now extremely degenerative and toxic. And if you can't see that, I don't know. I don't know what we can do here. Let's go to the next question. So definitely a hit on number 5. Number 6. What about your feelings in the relationship? Well, I feel calm, peaceful, and safe in my relationship. It has been consistent since the start. Well, on a global level, this would be like, okay, the world is happy, everything's okay, nothing really bad happened. That's not happening. And, maybe halfway up, you got to the top there, where you're halfway, not great. I'm not very happy in the relationship, but I still feel comfortable expressing my opinions and frustrations. Okay, that's not terribly bad. But then look at number 3. What about your feelings in the relationship? And remember, this is about your feelings on Earth right now and how these people who can bail themselves out with half the money in the world in 2008 and control all the levers of power in the world because they took your money to bail that thing out so it still runs. What do we say here? Number 3, I used to be such an easygoing person, but now I feel jealous, desperate, and needy all the time. I used to be such an easygoing person, but now I feel jealous, desperate, and needy all the time. Does that not describe just about everyone today? I used to be so nice and easygoing, and now I'm jealous, desperate, and needy all the time. Well, yeah, because what about your feelings in the relationship? Your feelings are not being heard. Your feelings are not being cared about. And I get it, again, it can seem like it's going both directions. Either side of the ticket's got this. But if one side of the ticket is consistently enforcing its own opinions and making up countless amounts of lies, and there's literally nothing you can do to stop it, the media has never veered at all from this negative perspective. You have to consider that your feelings in this relationship are being completely suppressed. So this entity that is doing all this stuff, that took your money in 2008, took half the wealth of the world, and is telling you what to think right now, it is not listening to your feelings. So we got a hit on number 6. Number 7. Are you afraid of losing this person? Well, that's what this whole election is about. Because some people feel like that person was lost. Some people feel like this orange man got in there. And, everything has gone to hell ever since then. It's so bad now. Well, that's because you're being told it's bad. Up until this happened, the economy had actually greatly improved. up until this thing happened. It hadn't even occurred at the time I finished this book. But the book's all about it. I knew, some part of me knew what was going to happen. And the prophecies talk about this, and there's a lot more we can say on that. Are you afraid of losing this person? Let's go back to the question and read it. So, there's some really lovey stuff here. Why would I ever worry about losing my partner? I know that our love is mutual and our relationship is healthy. This isn't even something that would enter my mind. I don't know. Okay, that sounds pretty awesome for you if you can answer it that way, but I don't think that's the case here. So, are you afraid of losing this person? Read number 2. Yes. My excitement about finding love seems to have turned into a constant fear of losing it. I worry that any fight could be our last. So, this is absolutely a factor. My excitement about finding love seems to have turned into a constant fear of losing it. I worry that any fight could be our last. That is literally what's going on right now. Because the media has gotten you to think that if this election doesn't turn out one and only one way, which is the way that they're enforcing, that somehow some really, really horrible thing is going to happen. That this man is going to turn into this overnight dictator and fascism, and oh my God, it's just going to be so freaking bad. And I've even watched videos of people in the LGBTQ community where I don't know what happened because I don't read this stuff, but whatever the heck they've been told has made them think that if this man gets back in, wins a second term, that you cannot be gay. He will not allow you to be gay. Or whatever the hell else it is that you want to try to do. Because you can dress up, you can do whatever the heck you want. Okay? And that's protected. And that's fine. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's not going to stop you from doing what you want to do. Where in the world did this come from, and why does such a significant portion of the voting bloc think that this is going on? Well, we're not going to talk about all that stuff. My wife wants to go for the jugular. I'm not ready for that yet. I know what you're talking about. The idea of hurting defenseless people and people who are not old enough to think for themselves is so reprehensible that once you really see what's going on, it's not that you couldn't see it before, it's that you didn't want to because it's so horrific. And I get that. And it's a lot easier to attack the messenger than to accept the bitter pill and understand that if you throw up, you'll feel better. But that's where this is all headed. Are you afraid of losing this person? Yes. Everyone is afraid of losing the love affair that started in 2008 with a man who captivated the minds and hearts and won the election with a sweeping majority. Okay? That is not where we are right now. The people that were in that love affair are clinging to it so hard that maybe what they're hoping is that homeboy is going to die. Maybe he'll even die before the inauguration. Then we get the first woman president through kind of the back door here. But wait a minute. Oh, there's so many things I could say, folks. I gotta not do it. I gotta not do it. Not gonna do it. Are you afraid of losing this person? Absolutely. Absolutely. People are afraid of this relationship dying, and that if this election doesn't work out a certain way, that relationship is over. But this is part of the psychopathic entanglement. This is part of the so-called gaslighting, where they turn the lights on and off to make you think there's a monster in the house. And it's really just them flicking the light switch. Do you trust your partner? I don't think we even really need to worry about this one too much. And then look at number 4. No, I can't explain why, but I frequently find myself playing detective and digging into their claims. Well, you know what? That's what I do best. Somebody in the Alliance recently told me I'm one of their favorite attorneys. And I'm not even really an attorney, but I play one on YouTube. Wow, I can get both of them going. Look at that. I can do it both at the same time in different ways. Isn't that amazing? How does he do that? How is it even possible? And why is he so awesome? That's the narcissist talking. That's not real. I'm doing that as a joke, okay? But do you trust your partner? No, I can't explain why, but I frequently find myself playing detective and digging into their claims. Well, this is what everybody's doing, because this relationship has gone bad, and many, many people have already committed to that divorce. They've looked at it for what it is, and they say, enough is enough. I'm done. I'm out. I don't care what you tell me. I don't believe anything you say anymore, and I will never believe you again. I will never believe you again. You have betrayed me. You have lied to me. You have cheated on me. You have deceived me. And I will never trust you again. The only response I can have to you is no contact. And that means I don't hit the switch, and I don't support this thing. No contact. Number 9. Is there drama in your relationship? Well, let's think about this one. So, let's see. I'm looking at which one is the worst. Well, number 2 is pretty bad already. We argue a lot, but the same issues don't come up over and over again. However, I do wish I could be in a relationship with less fighting. That's fair. Oh, number 1 is the hippie one. We rarely ever get into arguments because we naturally understand how the other is feeling. We don't try to make each other jealous or create unnecessary tension. We're both striving to build trust with one another. Now that's fantastic, but that is not what's happening. The DS is not trying to build your trust. They're not trying to keep you happy. Now look at this at the bottom. They said they hate drama, but there seems to be so much of it. We're always arguing about the same things. It feels like they're creating drama and then judging me for reacting to it. Now, this is apolitical, folks. It's apolitical, but this questionnaire, which I literally picked at random, I didn't know if it would work or not, but I just answered the 13 questions for the DS, said, does this make sense? And it absolutely fits perfectly. So once again, I'm going to read this. We're always arguing about the same things. It feels like they're creating drama and then judging me for reacting to it. Isn't that what is happening? What is the drama that's being created? It's one thing after another, folks. Oh, there's got to be this collusion. Oh, we got to do an impeachment. Oh, well, the impeachment didn't work. Well, now let's do another impeachment. Oh, well, that one doesn't work. Oops. I mean, it's crazy. They're constantly creating drama. They don't have anything positive to say. That in and of itself weakens your country. If your country in its own press never supports your leader, you are in a sick, dysfunctional society that is ripe for invasion and being conquered and taken over. And the worst invasion is the one that happens from within that you don't even see coming. And this global acrimonious psychopathic divorce has reached the stage where it is a fight to the death. And we're worried about violence, and we're worried about how this election is going to turn out and what those results will be. Number 9, definitely is there drama in our relationship? Yes, in this global relationship. Number 10, how do they handle boredom? And then it says they're always bored and they constantly need attention from others. That's number 2. Well, that absolutely fits with what's happening here. They cannot ever stop attacking. They can never relax. They cannot allow there to be a lack of a news cycle. They always seek attention. They always need the drama. They always have to create a problem. They always have to have there be a big, horrible issue going on that involves voting and Congress and impeaching, and it's just never frickin' stopped. They do not handle boredom. They can't handle anything going on where there isn't this outrage machine that is constantly cranking. And again, if you still aren't listening to me, I really want you to think about this. Why would you create that environment? Why would you create an environment where for 5 years there's been not one gasp of positive air? No oxygen. Only negativity. Only horrible stuff. Nothing good. Number 10, they handle boredom terribly, and that's a yes. So we'll vote on that one. Number 11 out of 13, what about their ex? Oh, well, number 4, they've never even mentioned their ex, and it's never even been discussed in our relationship. Lucky you. They're friends with their ex, number 1, and it makes me uncomfortable, but they've always been friends, so it's not my place to say anything. That's kind of a middling. But then, look at this one, number 3. What about their ex? They claim that their quote-unquote crazy ex is jealous of us, and I have nothing to worry about. But for some reason, I suspect they're still talking. I feel like I'm always in competition with others for my partner's attention. So what is the equivalent of the jealous ex here? It is treasonous hidden relationships. The ex in this case could be people that were being worked with covertly that you don't know about. People that are apparently in opposition to one another. So I'd like you to think about this in terms of what we've learned now about the history of World War I, World War II, and the principle of ordo ab chao, or order out of chaos, where you own both sides of a conflict so that no matter who wins, you end up winning. And you might actually be selling to both sides of the same conflict, profiting off of it, regardless of which side it is. There's a lot of fun things I could say about that. So when I talk about the X, let's talk about how this DS has acrimonious breakups. Who are the enemies? Who are the villains? If you're in a relationship with someone, the X is typically the villain. Oh, that person is such an a-hole. You're nothing like that. Well, it seems like you might still be talking. Well, no, I don't still talk to them. Ugh, you know? So what does it say right here? Again, they claim their crazy ex is jealous of us. And I have nothing to worry about. For some reason, I suspect they're still talking. That's the key. I suspect they're still talking. Well, isn't it interesting that there's all these things that the People's Republic of you-know-where optimized their internet for? They made certain things happen so that certain things don't work, and you can't click on certain things, and you can't talk about certain things. And haven't they had years to perfect that system? And isn't it interesting that the exact same system using the exact same internet is now operating here? But oh no, we don't have any connection to our ex. That relationship is over. I don't know about any computer that you might have found. I don't know about anything that might be on that computer that you found. I don't know about any secret deals that might have gone on. Oh, that's just disinformation. But it's all been validated, and this is the stuff that you probably don't know. It's been validated. There's witnesses who signed off on it. It's been irrevocably proven to be correct. And there's a heck of a lot more evidence where that came from. Who is the ex here? I think you can figure it out. Is that relationship still on? It sure looks like it. Is that relationship still toxic? Probably so. Because we are looking at the possibility that the ex has money that they paid. I'm being really careful. The ex paid money to be able to ensure that if they got a result that they wanted, that there's collaboration. So some of the things that might happen after this election could be crazy, and they could involve this people's thing. And the people's thing could invade another country, could do anything really wild and crazy, anything that you might have already been seeing protests about, anything they've already been kind of pushing on. There already has been a border skirmish with India that was very concerning. They might be ready to go big and go fast. And we have to be prepared for that. There's a lot of briefings that suggest that this is much more serious than we realize. That the DS and the people's you-know-what are actually now in full collusion. And the people's you-know-what is now going to be the instrument by which the DS gets its needs met in terms of geopolitical strategy and actual tactical positioning and movement and warcraft. This is real, okay? There's some very, very big geopolitical risks that we're going to run through as we head through this thing, which starts tomorrow. So what about their ex? Absolutely, we get a hit on this question. They claim their crazy ex is jealous. I have nothing to worry about, but for some reason I suspect they're still talking. Are they still talking? Certain pieces of evidence that have come to light strongly suggest they are, folks. I feel like I'm always in competition with others for my partner's attention. Well, yeah. Because this group is not loyal to your country. They're not loyal to any country. They're not even loyal to the country that they're now working with. Their only loyalty is to their agenda, which is a psychopathic agenda in which you are not even a human. You're a non-person, and you don't deserve to exist, and they're trying to get rid of you. This is actually true. This is the sick stuff that if you haven't done the homework, and you don't realize that the DS and all this is psychopathic, and what psychopathic means, that your frontal lobes are literally turned off, you don't feel these things. You turned it off as an adaptive response, so you don't feel concerned about other people's feelings anymore. It's just not there. You don't feel it. Number 12. What was your relationship like in the beginning? Well, just like any other, let's read number 1. Just like any other relationship starts, this is 2008 now, we get to know each other, we have a bunch of things in common. Things have fizzled down since then, but we still like each other a lot. If there was a honeymoon phase, it certainly didn't consume my life. And then all the other stuff is kind of like pretty warm and fuzzy. So this one doesn't really have an edge on it except for that. Number 1 is the independent variable. The other stuff sounds, number 3, amazing, much more attentive than my previous partners. They seem to have all the right things in common with me, implying we are perfect for each other. They texted me constantly and seemed infatuated by every single thing about me. Is that how they're treating you now? No. Number 1, it started like any other relationship. We got to know each other. We thought we had things in common, but everything has fizzled down since then. And if there was a honeymoon phase, it certainly didn't consume my life. How long of a honeymoon did we get in 08? It was already over before there was even an election or an inauguration, and it just got worse. Okay, so yes, number 1, we'll click on number 1, and we'll vote for the fact that the relationship was never really that good to begin with. It was problematic from the beginning. And last but not least, number 13. 13 out of 13. How does this person treat you? Well, number 2 sounds pretty awesome. They go above and beyond to listen to my feelings and understand where I'm coming from. I always feel respected in my relationship. If I bring up a concern, they're always willing to talk about it and improve their behavior to help our relationship. Oh, that sounds so nice. They're usually not very nice to me, but it's always been that way. I don't really need a lot of affection or mushy kindness, so it's fine. All right, that doesn't sound very good. But then look at number 1. I don't even know anymore how this person treats me. I don't even know how they treat me anymore. We have good days where it feels like the perfect beginning of our relationship again. But usually they're patronizing and critical, or they ignore me. I feel sensitive and crazy for being hurt by their behavior. So patronizing and critical, and there's this glory. There's something that this entity is trying to give you by putting this person into the race. And you're just trying to get that glory back. You're just trying to get that little taste of what you think you lost that was bad. So we'll vote for number 1. So I did all these votes just the way I walked it through now. Voted for the deep state. And so let's see, how did the deep state score when I added it all up as I... The test results, as I clicked on everything, as I told you that I clicked on here, you definitely know a psychopath. Cunning manipulator. And here's this guy, and while she sleeps, he's texting the next one. So again, folks, if you definitely know a psychopath, then just ask yourself, how did things work out after 2008? And just for fun, I want to do a funny little thing here. So let's go back to the slide real quick, and then we're going to come back to this. Let's ask an airplane. What does the airplane think? Go back to the slide now. Okay, well, what would an airplane think? I don't know. What kind of airplane do you think we should ask? Well, I might have one right here. I might have an airplane right here, folks. I might have an airplane that looks a little familiar to you. If this airplane could only talk, after all the time that's gone by, if this airplane could talk, what would it say? What would this particular airplane have to say if there was a previous tenant that was in this airplane before? And maybe the other guy was in this airplane sometimes before. Let's just ask, let's just... So, okay. Yeah, I get it. I gotta know. Did strange things happen in there? Really? Really? No way. Right in there. It happened inside. In there. Folks, the stories that this little guy could tell, the things that happened right in here, the deals that were made, the depravity, the crazy stuff, if airplanes could talk. So I think we ought to listen to what they have to say, because I don't want to let somebody back in to be able to do this again. I don't want to let that person back in there. What did the sun do? Oh, really? It's not good, folks. It's not good. The airplane has a lot of stories to tell us. After all of this symbology, back to the slide real quick, after all of this symbology that has been shoved in our faces for so long, all of these symbols that we see, back up here, in music videos, in Super Bowl halftime shows, in Grammy Award ceremonies, go to my website, read David's blog. You got to click on the top, go to David's blog, and just start clicking through the historical pages. I have done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages on this symbology. All-seeing eye, square and compass, black and white tile floor, Masonic arch. There's all these very specific symbols. The horns, the fire, the weird bloody things going on, the weird stuff that, mannequins, people with no face. All of these symbols that have been shoved in our face for so long that you go into these movies and you see it in the movies, and it's easily academically provable. There's nothing difficult to see here. And this group apparently needs to give us these tell us what they're really up to in symbology, because that's the only way that they can get this to work. They're actually doing something where they feel that there are rules, and I got personal briefings on this. They feel that there are rules, and that in order to get away with what they're doing, they have to tell us what they're doing. Therefore, if we consent to it by not opposing them in any substantive way, then we deserve to be enslaved. So going back to the slide again, and considering now that this deep state has decisively failed all 13 of the questions, and they are a psychopath, after you, psychopath, have shoved this symbology in our faces for so long, now you write some crappy articles, and you're trying to tell us that none of this exists, and that it's all just conspiracy nonsense. Okay, but, even though none of this is true, and it's all nonsense, and none of it's real, and it's all hogwash, you must be protected from encountering the information, because, you could be easily manipulated, and you might be fooled, and we don't want that to happen to you. So let's just get the old relationship back up and running again. Let's let the abuser back in the house. Don't you like getting hit? Don't you like not having any money? We had to watch these videos of battered wives with these black and blue eyes that looked like eggplants. And they're like going, I still love him, I still love him. It's horrifying, the stuff they showed us as part of the suicide hotline training. And I'm telling you that what we have as a global society right now, and as a country, is a battered wife syndrome that is going on. And they're telling you must be protected from encountering the information. So now let's go to the next slide here. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you what I believe is a prediction. I believe that the result is likely to go as anticipated. Now, what do I mean by that? It does not appear that there's going to be a long-winded, contested situation that is tangible and palpable. it does not appear that this is going to get dragged out. Even though there is massive fraud, such to a degree that the briefings that we got, which are on certain publicly available sites that I'm not going to say anymore, those briefings have been going on since 2017 October, tell you, if you go back and look, that there are 80 million false mail-ins that have been created. 80 million. That they're aware of this, and this is going to come out, folks. When you hear what this has got to say, and I'm not talking about right now, I'm talking about what happened before, in here, it's gonna creep you out, it's gonna terrify you, it's gonna disgust you, and you're not gonna be happy. So the result that we are anticipating is a landslide. Thank God. And I am happy to say that. I have really done an enormous amount of due diligence on this. I've dug in, I've looked at it. And so if this whole situation is going to upset you, I do apologize. Many things have not been run the way that I would like them to be run, but I am very, very grateful for myself and for what I think is true, that it appears that this is going to be a landslide. And I think there are many, many reasons for this. I think the whole thing has been drastically overplayed. I was speaking to some very, very liberal neighbors of mine in Colorado, and what this person said, and he was talking to others who were far, far, far left, and they said, I cannot in good conscience vote for a person who I wouldn't even trust to take out the garbage. I cannot in good conscience vote for a person who is so demented that he can't even tell whether he's running for Senate or president. He doesn't know what year it is. It's astonishing. Honestly, as bizarre and horrific and supernatural as 2016 was, this is even more bizarre because it's as if they only have one guy left that they could use. And so no matter how flawed he is and how many flaws come out, nope, this is the guy and we're going all the way. So it appears to be a coming landslide. I'm not actually that worried about it. I would be amazed if it isn't. I would even be amazed if the contested thing goes on. And I'm saying this in advance, by the way. I'm making a prediction. Okay? Now let's go to the next slide here. So the result, I believe, is going to be a landslide. And one of the things you can look at is the difference in crowd size. The incumbent, and you see I'm being very careful, the incumbent is having record-breaking crowds. The enthusiasm is literally off the charts. There are millions and millions of people who are actually saying, I will crawl naked over broken glass to vote for this man. I will crawl naked over broken glass to make sure that I go to the polling station in person and that I am counted and that this cannot be ignored. And then you look at the other side and the crowds that they have, and if you do any kind of digging and you go beyond your little social media plantation, what are you going to see? 10 people show up. 5 people show up. Nobody shows up. Oh, we got some coyotes going off in the background there. It's interesting timing. The crowd size is so small that the whole entire talk has to be altered where you don't get to see what's out there because there's nobody there. How in the world are there all these polls saying that this person is so far ahead if this person can't even get a turnout at all? Oh, but who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? They don't want you to believe what your eyes tell you, the crowd size, right? That's a very good marker of enthusiasm. There's no enthusiasm. The woman who ran in the last one looks like a much, much greater threat, and she didn't win. She looks much more intelligent at this point. She looks much more threatening, much more capable of winning. But that's not the race that we're in. So our friends, as I've said before, have recently posted about this, going back to the slide. And these are just briefings. I don't know where they came from. You might be able to find them online. I'll just say hypothetically that they might exist online somewhere. I'm not going to tell you where. But hypothetically, there was one on October the 30th that linked to this. And it's from Time Magazine. It says, The Great Reset. The blankety blank has provided a unique opportunity to think about the kind of future we want. Oh, what a unique opportunity. That's psychopathic in and of itself. Oh, what a unique opportunity. I want to think about the kind of future I want. How about one that isn't effed up? Time partnered with the World Economic Forum. Ooh. It sounds like the Council on Foreign Relations. I'm not even going to go there. To ask leading thinkers. Woo, yeah, I like those guys. I want those leading thinkers to share their ideas for how to transform the way we live and work. The Great Reset. Well, here's what happens, folks. If you collapse the economy and everything is worthless, you can buy it all back for pennies on the dollar. And that occurred in England with the news of Napoleon being defeated at Waterloo. One person got that news ahead of everybody else because he had a fast courier who delivered that information faster. So he knew that Napoleon had been defeated, which means the English won the war, which means everybody's going to be very, very happy. Okay? What did this man do? He sold all of these stocks that he had that were called consols, consolidated annuities, which basically represents the actual stock of Mother England, the worth of the country. He sold off almost everything he had. It ignited a panic. There was a massive binge of panic selling. Everybody sold off their consolidated annuities. Everybody sold off the worth of England because this high-rolling guy, they said, he must know, he must have the inside intel, and we frickin' lost and Napoleon won, and we're screwed, and we're about to be controlled by France. So before France gets everything, we got to sell off everything we got and try to salvage this horrible situation. What did this guy do? Right before the bell, 3 minutes before the bell, he bought all of them back. And he acquired most of the entire wealth of Great Britain, which his family still has never lost. You probably know the name. And everybody got screwed because he manipulated the outcome. Everybody believed that he knew something was wrong. He got everybody to sell off their stuff, and then he bought it all back for pennies on the dollar. And then when society's allowed to reopen, because now it turns out that Napoleon didn't win and we're the victors, everybody lost their stuff. And now this guy has all the power. That did happen. It's history, and it's in the book that these people wrote about their family, where they brag about this in the book. And if you go to my website and read the article called Financial Tyranny, it's one of the things you'll see in the Read Free Books Here section. You'll find all this information. Okay? And you probably know who this group is, because it starts with an R. I'll make it even easier. That's about all I'm going to say. Is this anti-Semitic? Absolutely not. These people hate anybody who believes in God. Doesn't matter if you're Jewish, Christian, Muslim. They hate you. They want to kill you. They just hate you. Sorry, they just hate you. Because that's not their belief system. They have a very particular, specific belief system, which I've talked about many times. And it's deeply, deeply upsetting. And there's two tiers of it. There's the polite guys who teach this philosophy and say that, oh yeah, well, this is just a belief, and we don't do anything that would hurt people. We don't do anything that would cause suffering. And that's okay. If you want to believe God is the flying spaghetti monster, that's your choice. But then the other people embrace all aspects of that philosophy and say that this, what most people think is God, is actually a demiurge or a half-god, an imposter, that the God of the Abrahamic traditions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, is a half-god, and that it created morals and ethics as a trap for you, to trap you into this cycle of reincarnation that you can't escape. And that it's a sadist because it punishes you with karma. But that once you become truly enlightened, you become like a natural force and you no longer are bound by these rules. That's psychopathic. Psychopaths think the rules don't apply to them. They can do whatever they want. And they rig the system so that they always win. And that's what is going on. And now this entity that is so intelligent and so wealthy and has trillions and trillions of dollars and an incredible brain trust of smart people working for it, is acting like a spoiled child having a toddler tantrum. The Tasmanian devil has been released into the world. So the Great Reset, oh yes, it's a unique opportunity to think about the kind of future we want and how to transform the way we live and work. The agenda was already given to you in the movie Ready Player One. Go watch the movie. Everybody's online. Everybody's got their Quest, the goggles. Just like the internet now, you have to use the internet. You're going to have to use the VR. You're going to have to use it to eat. You're going to have to use it to buy things. You're going to have to use it for everything. You wear the goggles, you put the things on your hands. That technology is going to keep getting better and better. They're coming out with the Quest 2 right now, Oculus Quest 2. But you have to go in there. And the Ready Player One movie shows that everybody is living at home and they're living in squalor, but they don't care because now they're in the Matrix. That is the agenda. And I pointed out the symbols that appear in that movie all over the place and what those symbols are similar to. And my wife and I, she had to tolerate, it took about 4 hours, didn't it, for us to watch that movie? And all the things I was pointing out is, oh, look at that, look at that, look at that. We kept rewinding, we kept looking at it. It was unbelievable. So they want you to never leave the house. And I heard about this many, many years ago. Because remember, they attempted to recruit me. This is not a hypothetical thing, folks. This is not something that I wonder if it's true. I'm talking about people sitting me down and telling me that if I would just promote this particular philosophy, that I would make potentially billions of dollars, at least millions. Bribery. That I would have an account set up that would begin at like a 100M level and just increase over time. And that I'd have discretionary control of it as long as I didn't mind a few favors being called in now and then. And I'm like, no frickin' way. No frickin' way am I going to say, okay, go ahead and I will spend this money that you guys have given me and I will let you do this deal. And then I find out, oh shoot, that wasn't bananas inside that crate, it was this other stuff. And now I look like I was involved. So I was smart and I did not fall for this. But if I had, all I would have to do, I could talk about almost the same stuff. All I would have to do is say some good things about the other guy in the divine design that everybody thinks is the bad guy. Well, maybe he's misunderstood. Maybe you don't have the right view. Maybe this guy isn't evil. Maybe he's actually down here with us because the other guy's up in the sky and he took off and he abandoned us. I've never taught that philosophy, and I have never submitted myself to this blackmail and this bribery. I just won't. But you have to understand how real it is when you are invited in, when you are given that opportunity, when you have that moment that you are being told this and you're being given a veiled threat, the offer you can't refuse. I've been through this like 6 or 7 times. There's been a desperate attempt to get me recruited into this thing with every type of temptation you could think of, and I've never said yes. So the link is to this article on the Great Reset, and again the idea is the economic change. So here is the briefing. Again, maybe you can find it online. I don't know, maybe it's online somewhere. Maybe it happened on October 30th. But anyway, there's the link, and then here's what it had to say. This is not about R versus D. This is about preserving our way of life. Because what did that article say? The article said, we want to think differently about how we work. Well, you can see exactly where it's leading. It's leading the idea that you never leave the house again. You're Ready Player One. You're in the Matrix. You got your goggles. Now you need them to go shopping. All your food has to be ordered online. All your goods have to be ordered online. It's illegal to go out. It's illegal to leave the house. You're stuck. Let's creatively think about how we could change the way things are done. So this is their response, okay, to that. This is not about a political battle. It's not about 2 political parties, R versus D. It's about preserving our way of life. Because they're never going to give you that. And then back to the slide. If America falls, the world falls. Patriots on guard. And that last line suggests to me, get ready because something really big is coming. Then there was another one that shows up where it has this link. And I'll show you what it is in just a second. And then it says, fact checkers were created in general, you know, there's Snopes and all this stuff, in an effort to reinforce propaganda, to enhance digestion. Let's click on that link. What does it go to? Here it is. And this is from, I can't even read it, it's too small. Brent Shear, I think is what it says. WTF, PolitiFact rates it mostly true that the pro-police thin blue line flag, which by the way has been around forever, I've been aware of it, I've seen it in people's yards for years, is actually an anti-BL-you-know-what flag. And then you read it, it says an anti-BL-you-know-what flag replaced the American flag behind President Trump during a Waukesha campaign rally, and it's ranked as mostly true. Mostly true. Here's the picture involved, okay? Dude, this flag has been around for a long, long time. And they ranked it as mostly true. So let's go back to this slide now. And they're saying again, fact checkers were created in an effort to reinforce propaganda. The battle to prevent the truth from reaching the people. The battle to maintain and push division. Doesn't this sound so much like what's happening right now? Absolutely. Maintain division, push division, prevent the truth from ever reaching the people. You don't ever know what's really going on. Then they say, divided, you are weak. Divided, you fight each other. Divided, you pose no threat. System of control. Information warfare. And now we're getting into something that was very recent. This is only Halloween. This just happened. I was very, very excited about these, okay? Are you ready to finish what we started? Apparently they are, and they're getting ready to do just that. Nothing can stop what is coming is not just a catchphrase. Nothing can stop what is coming is not just a catchphrase. I want to stop right there for just a second again. Nothing can stop what is coming. They've been saying this all along, and I've been showing you this over time. Take a little drink of water here. It's not just a catchphrase. This is real.